Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish First Nations, the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nation. It's wonderful for me personally to be back here in my hometown, Vancouver, with my colleagues, Minister Jonathan Wilkinson, members of Parliament, Wilson Mao, Tal Newt Mohammed, Harm Baines, and also Minister Sean Fraser as well, alongside with my provincial colleagues, Minister Collin, and also our Mayor, Ken Sims. And we're here to deliver, and the Prime Minister, which I'll introduce in a second. Okay, yeah.
You are introducing me.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
You were saving me.
Yeah, just wait.
Okay.
See, what do I have to work with? No, it's really exciting. You know, this is some really great news for Vancouver, and why I was saving the Prime Minister for the last, okay? The Housing Accelerator Program, we know that it's already helped unlock over 250,000 of new homes over the next decades for Canada. And starting today, this will include Vancouver. Now we're getting more homes built for Canadians, and especially for Vancouver, and most importantly, faster as well. Now, when Pierre Poilievre comes for visits to Vancouver, and he's come here a few times, right? All he has done is to exploit the Vancouver's real anxiety about the housing market. Now we know that empty slogans do not meet the moment. We need a real plan, and we have a real plan. We're cutting red tape. We're getting more homes built all across the country. And that's why I'm saving the best for last. I'm introducing my very good friend, someone who has worked tirelessly for the middle class, and it's one of the reasons why I got interested in politics as well. And he's going to share this plan with you, our Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau.
Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. It is so great to be back home in BC. Just a few weeks ago we were here for a big announcement out in Maple Ridge on a huge battery plant with Iwan Moli, and great to be back here today for a big housing announcement. Harj, thank you for those words and for your kind leadership. Thank you to Jonathan, Wilson, Parm, Talib. Great to have you guys here as well for everything you're doing. We have an amazingly great team here in BC. Sean, merci pour tout ton travail, pour continuellement livrer à travers le pays pour des logements et pour aider les Canadiens à se voir dans un avenir plus prospère. Minister Callan, thank you for everything that you've been doing and your government's been doing on housing. Really, we couldn't imagine having a more engaged, active partner on this important file anywhere in the country. David and I have had many conversations about it, but it's your work and Sean's work and the incredible work being done here in BC that is, as is so often the case, driving the example that the rest of the country needs to step up with. So thank you for everything you're doing to recognize both the challenges but also the opportunities in this. And Mayor Sim, Ken, it's so good to be back home in Vancouver. I love making announcements with Ken because I get to wear jeans, which is always nice.
I dressed up today.
Yeah, I know, and I got to dress down. What a pleasure to be here with you again. We've had so many great conversations over the past many months on what we're going to do together to build a better future for Vancouver and how we can partner to really, really deliver in this extraordinary part of the country that means so much to me. And what this announcement really is, beyond all the details of the announcements, is showcasing what happens when everyone works together. Aligned on the same goal, not fighting, but collaborating, investing, seeing how to build a better future for everyone. Because here in Vancouver, people have been on the front lines of the housing crisis for a long time. Prices have gone up, and I get it. BC is an amazingly great place to live. People want to live here. It's a gateway into Canada for so many people. And people around the world know that it is one of the best places on earth. I certainly agree. I've got deep family roots here, still have family who live here. I got my start as a teacher here living out in BC, so I understand how much it is a draw to be able to live in this incredibly beautiful, vibrant city and incredibly wonderful province. But with all this growth, it means that governments have to make sure that housing is getting built in the right way. And that's what our Housing Accelerator is all about. Today, we are extremely happy to announce that we've reached a deal with the City of Vancouver that will see over 40,000 homes built over the next decade. This deal will mean less red tape, more housing built near transit, more affordable rental housing, and more density. Homes in accessible, vibrant communities, the very places people want to live and raise their families in. Today's announcement actually brings the total number of new housing units unlocked by our Housing Accelerator to almost 300,000. This is well over the initial 100,000 we'd hoped to unlock when we announced the Accelerator Fund back in 2022. On a demandé aux communautés à travers le pays de voir grand et d'avoir de l'ambition. Et à cause de ça, on livre de vrais résultats. Tout ça s'ajoute au fait que l'initiative pour la création rapide de logements a aussi dépassé ses objectifs. Housing is a big challenge, there's no doubt. But we have met big challenges before as a country. And the best way to solve housing challenges is what I said, to work together. Just over a year ago, I was here in the Vancouver area announcing funding to the Squamish First Nation to build thousands of rental units in the SINAC project. Actually, your boss was there. David was there just before he actually became Premier, and it was great to see with him already the work we were going to do. And the SINAC project is what we've been working on in various ways for 8 years, with a focus both on reconciliation, on responsible community development, on protecting the environment, and creating economic opportunities that provide growth for everyone. And if you have any doubts of what a great project that was that we've all worked on together, even Pierre Poilievre points to that project as one of the great successes of this government and its partners. So you know it's got to be pretty good. This construction site where we are today will become rental housing thanks to federal support, with plans to be complete in March of 2025. And I know the province has been introducing legislation to deliver more homes and modernize zoning rules. Federal government is ready to keep being a partner with all areas of government that are ready to make progress on building more homes faster. Cet automne, on a aussi déposé un projet de loi pour supprimer la TPS sur la construction de nouveaux logements locatifs. Et il y a déjà 300 000 Canadiens qui profitent du compte d'épargne libre d'impôt pour l'achat d'une première propriété. On sait que la hausse du coût de la vie est difficile pour les Canadiens et on travaille fort pour le faire baisser. On a renforcé le régime de pension du Canada. On a versé le remboursement pour l'épicerie à des millions de Canadiens l'été passé. On a éliminé les intérêts sur les prêts aux apprentis et les prêts d'études fédéraux. And just today, we've announced that Prince Edward Island is reaching the milestone of $10 a day child care. They're already the 7th province to do this. They will say, though, it was right here in BC that we signed the first deal with the federal government in the province to deliver affordable early learning and child care. Already, our Canada-wide program is delivering hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in savings every month to Canadian families. Listen, people are working hard to keep up with the cost of living, which can be especially hard as the Christmas holiday approaches. That's why our government never stops fighting to secure the promise of Canada. The promise that each generation stands on the successes of the previous one and can achieve even more. We're taking action that provides support to Canadians of all ages, protecting the CPP, strengthening health care, delivering dental care like the new Canadian Dental Care Plan that opened applications to seniors this week, on top of the hundreds of thousands of kids who have healthier smiles already thanks to our federal dental care announcements. We're making sure that all Canadians see opportunity in Canada's future with good jobs and the clean economy, ability to build a home and a family in the places they want to live. That's why it's so important to build more homes faster. That's exactly what we're doing here today. Canada is the very best country in the world. Let's keep working hard together to make it even better. It is now my great pleasure to turn it over to our Minister of Housing, my friend and yours, Sean Fraser.
Look, thanks so much, Prime Minister, to my colleagues and counterparts at different levels of government. It's a great privilege to be able to be here to share tremendous news that's going to help us build more homes in Vancouver faster than otherwise would have been the case. Just on the way in, it's always good to be on a site where people are actually doing the building. Minister Callan and I landed a little bit early, and he introduced me to some of the trades workers downstairs. And he said, look, I wanted to introduce you to one of my colleagues, and they looked and said, David Eby? Not quite. But in any event, it's nice to be here because the site that we're actually on today is a project that was supported through the Apartment Construction Loan Program, which provides low-cost financing to home builders to offer units at and below market prices. The project stands on properties that used to be 6 single-family lots. Within a couple of years, there's going to be hundreds of people living in these new homes. This is the kind of thing that we can do when we work with the private sector, when we work with other levels of government, to actually ensure that we're creating the conditions that will allow us to escape the housing crisis. Now, make no mistake, although we might be living in a housing crisis, it is solvable. And it's solvable if we put measures on the table that will actually result in more homes being built. I'm filled with a sense of optimism, despite the enormity of the challenges before us, because I work every day with the people who are implementing some of these solutions. Today's announcement through the Housing Accelerator Fund puts federal funding on the table to incentivize changes at the municipal level of government through zoning reform, through expedited permitting. Today's announcement is supported by a federal investment of nearly $115 million that's going to lead to tens of thousands of homes over the next decade. I'll tell you, the kind of reforms that the City of Vancouver is putting in place is going to allow a streamlined process to build high density near transit. It's going to include a digital permitting process. It's going to include continued investment in social housing for some of the community's most vulnerable people. But what it really speaks to me is the entrepreneurial spirit that the City of Vancouver has adopted to say we can solve this challenge if we do the things that are necessary to make it happen. And I want to congratulate Mayor Sim in particular for his attitude saying that we can solve the challenges and we can solve them here. But one of the things that gives me great faith that we can actually overcome the challenges that we're facing is partnerships not only with cities across the country, but with provincial governments who are willing to do the right thing. The leadership the province of British Columbia has shown to fundamentally change the way that cities will build homes by adopting new and modern zoning practice, by speeding up permitting process in a uniform way, by actually being serious about building homes where infrastructure exists, by giving people access to transit and economic opportunities in the communities where it's going to be able to serve them because we have the infrastructure already in the ground. This is thoughtful leadership, and I can tell you the work that Minister Callan is doing, in particular alongside Premier Eby, gives me faith that when we partner, we can solve the housing crisis in every part of this country if we continue to see that kind of leadership demonstrated in other parts of Canada. You know, I'm excited because over the past few months, we've seen a fundamental change in the attitude of Canadians. I'm sensing that as we continue to adopt measures that's going to allow us to build more homes, whether it's the Housing Accelerator Fund, whether it's the changes we're making to make the math work for home builders, or whether it's a continued investment in public housing for some of Canada's most vulnerable, despite the challenges that people see in their communities, there's a renewed faith that people have that we can overcome these challenges. I can tell you no one level of government is going to do it alone. But when we work together, the federal government, provinces and cities, we can do great things. And today we're going to do a great thing for the City of Vancouver. With that, I'd like to share the floor with my friend and colleague, the Mayor of Vancouver, Ken Sim.
Bring it back to Ken level here. Some people got that joke. Anyways, good morning everyone. I am super stoked to be here and I'll explain why in a couple of secs. First of all, I do want to acknowledge that we are hosting today's press conference on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And I do want to thank them for their generosity and their hospitality and the love and the care that they show this land that we get to live, work and play on. I also, I'm here as the Mayor of Vancouver, but make no mistake about it, I'm just one small part of a team. My teammates are right there. We have a bunch of city councillors, so Mike Klassen, Lenny Joe, Brian Montague, Lisa Dominato, Rebecca Bly, Christine Boyle, Sarah Kirby Young. I don't have my glasses on it. Am I missing anyone else? No? I also have two of my four favorite sons here. I'm not going to tell you where they rank, but definitely in the top four. And obviously all our friends up here today that have already been introduced. Now the reason I'm super stoked about this announcement is, little known fact, Tina and I, we actually bought a house back in 2003, 50 yards from this place. And as an aside, so the house turns 100 this year, and as an aside, when we bought it, it actually had a covenant on it that said this property shall not be transferred to Negroes or Orientals. And you know, that definitely isn't a highlight. The highlight is, you know, we have come a long way as a country full of inclusion and love. And so the fact that we actually get to stand up here today is because of all the people that came before us that gave us this opportunity. The second reason why I'm super stoked to be standing here today is I remember these 6 units, these 6 homes that used to sit on this lot. And in fact, where I'm standing right now, Maria, who was an elderly grandmother, she had the most incredible flower bed here. There was always a flower in bloom. And so I really remember this neighborhood. And it's great to see that, you know, when we were living here, maybe 6 families and about 30 people lived here. I look at this development and we're going to see hundreds of people who have homes in the neighborhood that, you know, our family loved, and it's going to bring vibrancy and opportunity to this place. And I think this is a great testament to what we're trying to achieve here today. So I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to have to cut the rest of my speech pretty short. But I do want to express our gratitude to the Prime Minister. Justin, thank you very much, and Minister Fraser, Sean, thank you very much. And you know, I want to thank the federal government for their leadership that they're showing on housing. You have encouraged us to think really big. You've encouraged us to be bold in providing solutions to the housing crisis. And it's not, you know, I like to look at it as a challenge. This challenge can be overcome. If I didn't believe that, if we didn't believe that, we wouldn't be standing here today. I do also want to highlight that I'm incredibly grateful that we're going to be joined on this stage today by Minister Kahlon from the BC government. The BC government who's demonstrated an incredible track record of leading on housing. Look, you guys have been great partners, and we look forward towards our team. By the way, I forgot to acknowledge Paul Mulcree, our city manager. The reason we get to stand up today and we're going to be talking about the announcement, it's because of all the hard work you and your team have done. So, sorry I missed you there. Wasn't wearing my glasses, just saw you now. But anyways, I'm looking forward to seeing what our team at the City of Vancouver, working with the team at the provincial level, can do when we align on recent changes to transit-oriented development and missing middle. It's really incredible to see what is possible when all 3 levels of government, you know, roll up their sleeves and work together. And it highlights our commitment collectively of delivering housing to Vancouverites, to British Columbians, and to Canadians. And this incredibly generous, and let me stress, this is an incredibly generous $115 million investment from the federal government through the Housing Accelerator Fund will help us build more homes faster. Now, stating the obvious, the Housing Challenge is a nationwide challenge that extends beyond the borders of any one municipality. And we have over 1 million people that are going to be coming to the Greater Vancouver region by 2050. Now, to put that into perspective, that's about 35,000 people per year. So the time for action's now. We have to work incredibly fast, and we have to be bold if we want to make a dent on this challenge. Like I said, I'm going to skip through most of my speech. We can go through the details later. But all I want to stress is this agreement here, it's not a symbolic gesture. It represents a collective commitment to finding tangible solutions to our challenge. And look, we're going to put the money to work. We're super excited about it, and I know we will accomplish, we will accomplish a lot of great things as we work together. And so on that note, I would like to introduce someone who's been a great partner to the City of Vancouver, a personal friend, and our favorite provincial housing minister. Okay, we have our favorite federal housing minister as well, but we're talking about the province. An incredible person, Minister Ravi Kahlon.
Thank you so much, Mayor Sim, and really appreciate the leadership Mayor has been showing. Every time we meet, it seems to be about housing, and every time we meet, he says the same thing: let's find solutions. And I really appreciate that leadership that he brings. And I too want to start by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people and recognize the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I want to say a big thank you to Prime Minister Trudeau for today's announcement, of course to Minister Fraser for his ongoing commitment to ensuring that we have the housing we need, not only here in British Columbia, but across the country. Today is obviously a very important day. The Housing Accelerator Fund, I think, is one of the most important tools the federal government has put forward right now to ensure that we have the supports we need to build the housing. And works very closely aligned with many of the initiatives that we have going on here in the province. And today, Vancouver gets to celebrate. I'm hoping that many other communities celebrate very soon the opportunity to see this type of infrastructure in their communities. Premier Eadie's made housing one of the #1 priorities for us in British Columbia. He has tasked me with the responsibility to work with all my counterparts to address the challenges that we have. And we personally in BC, we're investing billions of dollars in non-market affordable housing for people. We're taking strong actions when it comes to short-term rentals. I think strongest actions in the country. We're allowing, as of right, up to 4 units for units to be built on single-family lots. Transit-oriented development, making sure that we're building housing where we're spending billions of dollars in infrastructure investments. By the way, in partnership with our federal partners here. And so we want to make sure housing gets built when that happens. And you know, I was really pleased to hear Minister Fraser announce the set designs that CMHC, in partnership with the federal government, is going to pre-approve set design housing designs across the country. We've started that initiative here in British Columbia. I think that's a very important step to ensure that we can get housing built faster with more certainty in communities throughout the country. And I'm looking forward to partnering with you on that important work. And even I think Prime Minister Trudeau actually summed it up very well. We have people in our communities that are struggling. We have young families considering whether they can stay in British Columbia or not. That's something that is heavy on my mind. And what I hear overwhelmingly from all of them is they don't want fighting. They don't want the federal government fighting. They don't want the municipal governments fighting. They don't want provincial governments fighting. They want to see what's happening right now, which is collaboration, working together to find solutions. So I just want to say that this is a good day for Vancouver. This infrastructure dollar is a very important step. I do look forward to seeing that in communities throughout British Columbia, and we value this partnership because the only way we're going to address the challenges that we have is by doing it together. So it's a good day and happy to be here to celebrate. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister. We will now begin the question period. 20 minutes, 1 question, 1 follow-up. First question goes to Emily from Global News.
Hi, Prime Minister. First question. There are fresh numbers from CMHC today that shows a 22% drop in November and projected to be down also 10% compared to 2022. So you've repeatedly said your government's housing policy focus is on supply. How do you explain these drops?
Well, I think everyone knows that both inflation and interest rates have hit hard right across the economy, and that's why we've been stepping up so strongly over these past months, on top of everything we've been doing since we launched our $70 billion national housing strategy back in 2017. We have been really accelerating the investments we're making through rapid housing, through the Housing Accelerator, through great agreements like this one today that we're announcing with the City of Vancouver. But we also know there is more to do. That's why in our most recent financial update, we put forward more money for the rental construction fund, for more money for various initiatives around affordable housing. We know there's lots more to do. We know families are hurting right now, and that's why we're rolling up our sleeves and delivering together the difference that it's going to make in the coming years.
Follow-up, CMHC also says they expect a continued slowdown in housing starts starting and moving into 2024. So with that in mind, Is your government willing to make cuts to any stream of immigration to soften demand for housing?
I think one of the most important things that we need to understand is that immigration is a source of opportunity, of growth, of economic advantage for Canada. But it's also important to make sure that, as we always have, we're doing it responsibly and at a pace that our cities, our municipalities, even our rural regions can absorb. And that's why we're constantly looking at some of the challenges that have been faced. For example, just a couple of weeks ago, our immigration minister made the announcement that because of the incredibly rapid expansion in international students, we were now going to make sure that institutions that are welcoming in more and more international students actually plan to create and build and ensure places where they're going to be able to stay, so that everyone is working together on a coherent, cohesive plan to make sure that we're both growing our economy and making sure everyone can have a safe place to live while we grow that economy and create great jobs.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Next question.
Hi, your Justice Minister says your government is considering another pause on expanding eligibility for medical assistance in dying to those whose only condition is a mental illness. Do you think it should be delayed?
The issue of medical assistance in dying is an incredibly difficult one for so many people. It's a deeply personal decision. And for a government, it's a decision where we have to make sure we're balancing both the desire to protect vulnerable people and respect people's rights to make their own choices. And getting that balance right is why we have been very, very careful over the years as we work together with partners. Obviously, the federal government creates the justice framework for this, but it is provinces who deliver on the healthcare systems. And we're making sure we are listening very closely to what provinces are saying as they talk about whether or not they are ready, whether or not there are systems in place that are going to be able to support people and reach those twin goals of both protecting vulnerable people and ensuring people have the rights to make the right choices. So it's a question that we are studying carefully and we are reflecting on. I know the committee, there's a parliamentary committee looking at it too. We're going to make the responsible decisions as we move forward, as we always do.
Is Canada ready for the policy to be in place, despite concerns about it on both sides of the political aisle and society as a whole?
That is part of the questions that we're asking.
Thank you. Next question.
Benoît Ferradini, Radio-Canada. Monsieur le Premier ministre, le prix des matériaux de construction et l'inflation ont forcé la province à revoir ses cibles de construction à la baisse pour 2024, même si le logement est une priorité. À quel point est-ce que cela vous inquiète?
Tous les gouvernements font face à des défis au niveau de l'encadrement financier. Même si le gouvernement fédéral a le plus bas déficit du G7, on a le meilleur taux de dette par rapport à la taille de notre économie des grands pays industrialisés, on doit être responsable avec les investissements qu'on est en train de faire. Mais on sait aussi que d'investir dans du logement abordable, investir dans du logement locatif pour la classe moyenne, c'est une bonne façon de créer de la croissance économique, créer des opportunités économiques. Et c'est pour ça d'ailleurs qu'en tant que gouvernement fédéral, on est là avec des millions et même des milliards de dollars pour appuyer les municipalités et les provinces dans la construction de logements abordables, dans la construction de nouveaux logements. Oui, on fait tous face à des défis avec les hausses du coût de la vie, mais les gouvernements savent très bien que c'est un moment pour continuer d'investir dans nos gens, d'investir dans notre avenir, et c'est exactement ce qu'on est en train de faire.
À propos de Meta maintenant, avez-vous encore espoir de signer une entente avec Meta? Quels sont les signaux que vous recevez de leur part?
Je sais que les conversations sont en train de continuer. On a été très très contents de voir que Google a reconnu qu'ils ont une responsabilité pour protéger notre démocratie en appuyant les nouvelles locales, en appuyant les journalistes qui font un travail essentiel dans notre démocratie. Malheureusement, Meta continue de prétendre qu'ils n'ont aucun rôle à jouer dans la protection de notre démocratie. Mais on va continuer de travailler avec eux parce qu'on trouve que les journalistes qui font le travail pour garder les gens informés et à l'affût de tout ce qui se passe dans leur communauté, de leur monde, ils devraient être compensés pour leur travail. Alors, on va continuer de pousser sur Meta qui fait des milliards de dollars de profit sans vouloir investir dans la stabilité et la rigueur journalistique et la démocratie qu'elle soutient.
Thank you. Last question.
Hi, last night you attended a Liberal fundraiser outside. Hundreds of pro-Palestinian demonstrators gathered, calling on the government to stop providing Canadian military assistance to Israel. What is your response to their demands?
First of all, I understand how so many people across this country are grieving, are angry, are worried about this unfolding humanitarian catastrophe. That is why, as a government, we're continuing to call for immediate humanitarian pauses to be able to flow in aid, to get people out to safety, to start doing everything we can to protect civilian life. These are things that we're continuing for, and that's why we're also working with our international partners towards an urgent ceasefire. We know that is important, but that ceasefire can't be one-sided. Hamas needs to lay down its arms. Hamas needs to free all the hostages they have right now. Hamas needs to stop using civilians as human shields. And Hamas cannot have any future role in the governance of Gaza. On top of that, we're going to continue, as Canada always has, to stand for a two-state solution and to work towards it. We cannot see peace and stability and opportunity in the region until we have Israelis living in a secure Jewish state and Palestinians living their aspirations of a protected, safe, secure, prosperous Palestinian state recognized under international borders. This is what we are working on. We need that two-state solution, and everything Canada is doing is towards that.
Changing gears, the deadline to start repaying the Canada Emergency Business Account loan is coming up. Business groups, businesses themselves say they're struggling and can't afford this added cost right now. Here in the Vancouver area, it almost feels like every day there's a business that is announcing that they're closing. Some citing debt and loan repayments as the reason. Will your government commit to extending the deadline again? And also, what's your response to the state that seems to be for businesses, the tough climate?
First of all, let us remember that during the pandemic, the government, the federal government, had to step up. Not just to keep people, families, and seniors safe, but to keep businesses going during an unbelievably difficult time for everyone in the country and everyone around the world. And we stepped up. We stepped up with health supports, with vaccines, but also with investments that have supported families, seniors, young people, that supported small businesses that otherwise would have closed during the pandemic. We were there with a tremendous amount of supports. Indeed, 8 out of $10 spent in Canada in support of the pandemic came directly from the federal government. So we were there. But at one point, those pandemic supports needed to end. We have to get back to the business of growing the economy and investing in the things that matter. And quite frankly, the way we managed, the way Canadians managed through this pandemic was so much better than so many of our peer countries. Not just with fewer deaths and fewer health issues than most of our peer countries, because Canadians got vaccinated to such high levels and were supported, but also a quicker economic rebound than most of our peer countries. Canada's economy is doing well, even as Canadians are faced with really challenging costs of living and inflation increases. And that's where our focus continues to be now, on supporting people with those. We're putting money into building new housing. We're putting money into supporting with the grocery rebate we brought out a few months ago. We're putting money into more competition so we can be there for Canadians to be able to pay their bills after this coming Christmas time. These are things that we are moving forward on to support people. So pandemic supports had to draw to a close, but there are lots of things that we continue to do to support the economy, to support small businesses now and into the future.
Thank you, Prime Minister. That concludes today's press conference.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde.